haircut. I love it. How's that new house treating you?
It's great. Thanks for asking. So, how you liking your new decor?
Great. Yeah, I never did like the old design anyway, you know?
What you got for me, Brian? I know you called me up here for something.
Yeah. It's N.W.A.'s new record. I wanted to play it for you first before you hear it anywhere else.
Benedict Arnold.
Are they trying to say that you're like a traitor?
Yeah.
I'm a fucking traitor? I ain't say shit about them on America's Most Wanted. Now they trying to diss?
This is What's Fact or Fiction in the Straight Outta Compton biopic. For all you old school rap fans and for some of the younger generation, you all know and seen the film based on N.W.A.'s rap career. Did Ice Cube destroy an office at Priority Records? This is a fact. After Ice Cube departed from N.W.A., he was signed by Priority Records for a solo deal. Brian Turner, the CEO of Priority Records, was one of the men responsible for signing Cube to his label. At one point, Turner offered to pay Cube extra on his second album if the first one was a hit. Subsequently, following Ice Cube's hit album, America's Most Wanted, which was, it still is, one of the most memorable albums of the 90s, Brian Turner didn't keep his promise to pay Cube the extra money. In return, Cube retaliated by destroying Brian's office with a baseball bat, him and his goons. This is depicted in the film and one that which Cube fought to keep the scene in the movie because it was way too factual. Did Cube leave N.W.A. because of Jerry Heller? A huge part of the film is Jerry Heller discovering N.W.A. and helping them become a hip-hop renowned group worldwide. Towards the middle of the film, Cube becomes irritated that Jerry only seems to be catering to Eazy-E, despite Cube writing most of the songs on the Straight Outta Compton album. It didn't happen the way it's depicted in the film. In fact, Cube did actually leave N.W.A. over a royalty dispute with Jerry Heller. In an interview with The Guardian, Cube explained that his manager, Pat Charbonnet, helped him realize that he was getting the short end of the stick when it came to Ruthless Records and his deal with Jerry Heller. Did Suge Knight beat up Eazy-E? In one of the more dramatic scenes of the film, Suge Knight beat up Eazy in order to get Dre out of his contract with Ruthless Records. Yes, this really did happen, and like in the movie, Eazy wanted to get comeback by taking Suge up out of here. Jerry talked him out of it, which later Jerry revealed that he regretted it. There's also a conspiracy theory that Suge was responsible for Eazy-E's demise by injecting him with HIV. This conspiracy stemmed from an interview with Suge Knight on Jimmy Kimmel where he joked about Eazy's death. Was there really drama at N.W.A.'s Detroit concert? One of the biggest scenes in Straight Outta Compton is when the group performed the song Fuck the Police, despite the Detroit Police Department specifically telling them not to do so. This scene is accurate. In real life, when the band performed the song, the amplifiers were turned off at the venue, which did actually incite riots from the concert goers. The only difference is that in real life, N.W.A. was able to escape and make it back to their hotel, rather than getting arrested at the venue as depicted in the film, but were apprehended later that night at their hotel. Were the FBI after N.W.A.? The police were obviously not fans of the group, but at one point the group did receive letters from the FBI, which Jerry called a threat. This is one monumental moment in N.W.A.'s career that most certainly did happen. FBI Assistant Director Milt Allerich was the man who wrote the letter and sent it to Ruthless Records. The FBI later had to fix Allerich's mistake and explain that it would be inappropriate for the government to revoke the First Amendment from the band. The letter from the FBI to N.W.A. is currently on display at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland. The original Fuck the Police. It's no secret that N.W.A. did not like the police, and most police officers at the time didn't like them. At one point in the movie, the members of N.W.A. step outside of their Torrance studio and start to get harassed by two police officers. Jerry Heller confirmed that this actually did happen in his memoir, but it wasn't the inspiration behind Fuck the Police. Ice Cube had the idea for quite some time. However, Dre had to go to prison on the weekends for traffic infractions. He didn't want to do the song right away. Once Dre had served his time and Cube revisited the idea, Dre was on go. So harassment from the police obviously did inspire the song, just not the way it's shown in the film. N.W.A got back together. After N.W.A was broken up, Eazy-E had long-standing beefs between Cube and Dre. Prior to Eazy getting diagnosed with AIDS, he rekindled his relationships with his former group members, but nothing ever really came to fruition. Eazy passed away only a month after he tested positive for the disease. In the film, Eazy is shown meeting with MC Ren and DJ Yella, who all are waiting for Cube and Dre to get there. This never happened as Eazy's death came too suddenly for them to actually start working together again. That being said, Dre and Cube both think that they would have made more albums as N.W.A if he hadn't passed away. Dre's treatment of women. In Straight Outta Compton, Dre is seen entertaining a few relationships. However, his treatment of women was far worse in real life. Several women have come forth and accused Dre of becoming violent against them. Most notable was news reporter Dee Barnes and singer Michel'le. While Dee Barnes filed a multi-million-dollar lawsuit against Dre, Michel'le never pressed any charges. Eazy-E goes broke. N.W.A breaks up in the film after Dre and Cube gets tired of the mistreatment from Jerry Heller. Instead of sticking with the group, Eazy sides with Jerry, which causes him to foreclose on his home, package marijuana, and move into a smaller house. In real life, none of this actually took place. When Eazy passed away, he was still a multi-million-dollar artist in the 90s. There was never any news reports about Eazy having to sell his mansion. Eazy may have not been making as much money after his days with N.W.A were over, but he was no doubt still a very rich artist. The late Jerry Heller sued Straight Outta Compton. Jerry Heller filed a $110 million lawsuit against Dre, Ice Cube, NBC Universal, and a slew of others involved in making of the film. The lawsuit accuses the filmmakers of depicting Heller as a sleazy manager who takes advantage of the members of N.W.A, fraudulently induces them to sign unfavorable contracts, and swindles them out of money that was rightfully theirs. Dr. Dre's and Ice Cube's debut performance. Hollywood's version of their performance is that they did an impromptu performance at a club named Dodo. In reality, they did do a debut performance, but it was at a local skating rink named Skateland, which consisted of a younger crowd. The scene where Dre walked in the studio and Tupac was recording the song Hail Mary. This is completely Hollywood. The scene is supposed to take place in 1995. However, Hail Mary wasn't released until after Pac's death in 1997. Dre had since departed from death row by then. Jerry Heller sought out Eazy-E to sign him in N.W.A. Actually, it was Eazy who sought out Jerry Heller. In fact, Eazy paid his friend Alonzo $600 to set up a meeting between him and Jerry. The deal with Priority Records didn't happen immediately after the show, but did happen a week later. Dr. Dre was arrested after punching someone and bailed out by Eazy-E. This is false. In real life, Dre was arrested, but it wasn't for fighting. It was for far less gangster stuff, parking tickets. Eazy did bail him out, but he had already started Ruthless Records in exchange for bailing Dre. He asked him to produce records and beats. In addition, about the fact Cube leaving Ruthless, well, it stated that Jerry Heller claims that Cube was voted out of the group by the other members because of his continuous griping over contracts. Cube was still living with his parents while Jerry and Eazy were living in mansions. Things were brought to light via Cube's manager. That's it for that. Thanks for listening. Please like, share, and subscribe.